a little bit of a delay there, but we are continuing on. I just published just the volume there. Just published a video, the next installment on Seamus Henry's Beowulf. That was taking it from the entrance to Heorot to basically the night before. They bed down and get ready for the fight to come. So for this one, yep, it's gonna basically start off with Grendel's attack, and about 10 or 11 pages seems to be about the usual time limit that I'm looking to hit, you know, right around 20 minutes. I made a short. I changed the what do you call it? The come on now. My audio settings. I don't think I did particularly well. The short actually got 2 dislikes. So I listened back to it. It sounded a little bit muddy and harsh. So I think I sound all right on stream right now, but so yeah, we'll do. I'll just go along, and this is actually my first reading through. It takes about 2 minutes per page, a little less actually. I've been running a little bit fast, but all right. Geet. Yeah, we ended off with and may the Divine Lord in his wisdom grant the glory of victory to whichever side he sees fit. That's if my microphone's set up there. I had a little thought of maybe what if my microphone was set up a little bit closer to me like this. I don't really like it. Does that work? Can you hear me? Can I hear me? Oh, you know what? No, actually, you know what? I think I'm gonna have to mess with the filters. I think it's, I think that actually does worse unless I start messing with the gain and everything. All right. So we're going to start off. Then down the brave man lay with his bolster under his head, and his whole company of sea rovers at rest beside him. None of them oh, well, that echo is going to fucking kill me. Alright. I know I'm on here. Oh... Scene collection. Docs? Is that it? No. Chat? Can I have this open? Alright, there we go. It'll be on my screen in case I need to look at that. I'll leave this in for now. Then down the brave man lay with his bolster under his head, and the whole company of sea rovers at rest beside him. None of them expected he would ever see his homeland again, or get back to his native place, and the people who reared him. They knew too well the way it was before. They knew too well the way it was before. They knew too well the way it was before. They knew too well the way it was before. Not before them. I'll have to add that in. How often the Danes had fallen prey to death of the mead hall, but the Lord was weaving a victory on his war loom. God, I love it. Weaving a victory on his war loom. I'm looking at the Old English. Let's see, 690 is sea rovers beside him. So the rest of Gebach. Oh, too much silence, too much silence. We have delayed. Anyway, just what a fantastic phrase. I'm going to do that again. They knew too well the way it was before, how often the Danes had fallen prey to death in the mead hall. But the Lord was weaving a victory on his war loom for the weather geats. Now, we've seen affectations like this before. Weather geats, victory shieldings. I don't know the context of these, and unfortunately for this edition, there's not. Usually they'll have like some notes inside. There is a pretty substantial foreword. I have not read it in quite some time. Maybe I should have read it before starting this, or I'll put that in as like a bonus video or something like that at the end. I'll read it for the reflections. But the Lord was weaving a victory on his war loom for the weather geats. Through the strength of one they all prevailed. They would crush their enemy and come through in triumph and gladness. The truth is clear. Almighty God rules over mankind and always has. Then, out of the night came the shadow stalker, stealthy and swift. The hall guards were slack, asleep at their posts. Why? I know, again, this is dramatic storytelling, but, hey, we're all gonna die tonight. Yeah, I'll get drunk. I guess it's a Viking thing. Out of the night came the shadow stalker, stealthy and swift. The hall guards were slack, asleep at their posts, all except one. It was widely understood that as long as God disallowed it, the fiend could not bear them to his shadow born. It was widely understood that as long as God disallowed it, the fiend could not bear them to his shadow born. B-O-U-R-N-E. Born. Is the born identity. Thank you, Google. Very cool, but not what I'm looking for. Oh, the limit or boundary. Interesting. A goal or destination. From French, an old French, 16th century, denoting a boundary of a field. Borne, also bound. Okay. So the fiend could not bear them. As long as God disallowed it, the fiend could not bear them to his shadow born. So the limits of his shadow. One man, however, was in fighting mood, awake and on edge, spoiling for action. Am I still good here? Awake and on edge, spoiling for action. I'm still not totally comfortable in my setup here. The microphone is a little bit farther away than I like, and I keep second guessing the way that I sound. In Off the Moors. That's going to be, I'm going to stumble over that one. In Off the Moors, down through the mist bands, God-cursed Grendel came greedily loping. In Off the Moors, down through the mist bands, God-cursed Grendel came greedily loping. The bane of the race of men roamed forth. The bane of the race of men roamed forth, hunting for a prey in the high hall. Under the cloud murk he moved toward it until it shone above it. Under the cloud murk he moved towards it until it shone above him, a sheer keep of fortified gold. Nor was that the first time he had scouted the grounds of Hrothgar. God damn it. Nor was that the first time he had scouted the grounds of Hrothgar's dwelling. Although never in his life, before or since, oh, I got lost already. Where did I end? Nor was this first time he had scouted the ground of Hrothgar's dwelling. Although never in his life, before or since, did he find harder fortune or hall defenders. Spurned and joyless, he journeyed on ahead and arrived at the Bawn. Bawn, B-A-W-N. Fortified enclosure, traditionally around an Irish tower house or castle. Okay. Fortified enclosure. A defended courtyard with walls usually built of stone, but sometimes brick clay. Alright, so I think he's using a little bit of liberty in the description here, because let's see. Off of the moors, greedily loping, the bane of men, sheer keep, fortress gold, Hrothgar's dwelling, spurred, joyless, 720, line 720. I don't recognize any of that. Funny thing about the Saxon, or the Old English, is sometimes you can kind of suss out what some of this is in English, or modern English, I suppose. Wow, why do we keep getting lost? Line 720. Spurned and joyless, he spurned and joyless, he journeyed on ahead and arrived at the Bawn. The iron-braced door turned on its hinge when his hands touched it. Then his rage boiled over. He ripped open the mouth of the building, maddened for blood, pacing the length of the patterned floor with his loathsome tread. Pacing the length of the patterned floor with his loathsome tread. While a baleful light, flame more than light, flared from his eyes. He saw many men in the mansion, sleeping, a ranked company of kinsmen and warriors quartered together. And his glee was demonic, picturing the mayhem before... Before morning, he would rip life from limb and devour them, feed on their flesh. But his fate that night was due to change. His days of... Come on. Fate that night was due to change. His days of ravening had come to an end. Mighty and canny, Hygelac's kinsman was keenly watching for the first move the monster would make, nor did the creature keep him waiting, but struck suddenly and started in. He grabbed and mauled a man on his bench, bit into his bone lappings. Bone lappings? Bit into his bone lappings, bolted down his blood. There's that stunning alliteration. I'm going to keep saying that over and over again. Alliteration does not get enough love in modern prose. But he grabbed and mauled the man on his bench, bit into his bone lappings, bolted down his blood, and gorged on him in lumps, leaving the body utterly lifeless, eaten up, hand and foot. Venturing closer, his talon was raised to attack Beowulf, where he lay on the bed. He was bearing in with open claw when the alert hero's comeback, an arm lock forestalled him utterly. The captain of evil discovered himself in a hand grip harder than anything he had ever encountered. The captain of evil discovered himself in a hand grip harder than anything he had ever encountered in any man on the face of the earth. Every bone in his body quailed and recoiled, but he could not escape. He was desperate to flee his den and hide with the devil's litter, for in all his days he had never been clamped or cornered like this. Then Hygelac's trusty retainer recalled his bedtime speech, sprang to his feet, and got a firm hold. Fingers were bursting, the monster backtracked, the man overpowering. The dread of the land was the dread of a title, Grendel. The dread of the land was desperate to escape, to take a roundabout road and flee to his lair in the fens. Desperate to escape, to take a roundabout road and flee to his lair. Take a roundabout road and flee to his lair in the fens. The latching power of his fingers weakened. It was the worst trip the terror-monger had taken to Heorot. This is a bad day. And now the timbers trembled and sang, a hall session. Oh, a hall session. Well, like a music. Okay. So we had the kind of music theme. And hammered, but somehow survived the onslaught and kept standing. Oh, cool. We're cutting in and out again. We're doing this again tonight? Okay. It was handsomely structured, a sturdy frame. Yeah, that's another thing I've noticed with epic poetry. It'll be going through the main event, the main section of the story, and then here we have and it'll have some background flavor describing something of the scene, like the hall here, and then it will diverge for at least a little while, telling you how great the thing is. Walk on the walls of Uruk. The hall clattered and hammered, but somehow survived the onslaught and kept standing. It was handsomely structured, a sturdy frame braced with the best of blacksmith's work, inside and out. The story goes that the pair struggled. Mead benches were smashed and sprung off the floor, gold fittings and all. But then no shielding elder. Before then, no shielding elder would believe. Before then, no shielding elder would. Why am I struggling with this? handsomely structured, sturdy frame braced to the best of blacksmith's work inside and out. The story goes that the pair struggled. Mead benches were smashed and sprung off the floor, gold fittings and all. Before then, no shielding elder would believe there was any power or person upon earth capable of wrecking their horn-rigged hall, unless the burning embrace of a fire engulfeth in flame. That's a long one. Before then, no shielding elder would believe. Before then, no shielding elder would believe that there was any power or person, any person or power. I might just transpose that just because it's easier to say. Before then, no shielding elder would believe there was any person or power upon earth capable of wrecking their horn-rigged hall, unless the burning embrace of a fire engulf it in flame. Okay, that's the way to break that up. I'm going to do that one more time. Before then, no shielding elder would believe that there was any person or power upon earth capable of wrecking their horn-rigged hall, unless the burning embrace of a fire engulf it in flame. Then an extraordinary wail arose, and bewildering fear came over the Danes. Everyone felt it. Everyone felt it who heard that cry as it echoed off the wall. The god-cursed scream and strain of catastrophe, the howl of the loser, the lament of the hell serf, keening his wound. He was overwhelmed, manacled. Oh, manacled. Yeah, okay. Manacles, handcuffs. The lament of the hell serf, keening his wound. He was overwhelmed, manacled tight by the man who of all men was foremost and strongest in the days of his life, in the days of this life. He was overwhelmed, manacled tight by the man of all men who was foremost and strongest in the days of this life. So yeah, he's got him by the wrist, he's holding him down. But the Earl Troop's leader was not inclined. Earl Troop's leader. Again, there have been several of these, and sadly I am not well versed enough to understand the relevance of these little flourishes. Well, yeah, an Earl is a nobility title, so I don't know if this is something that's put in by Mr. Heaney, but it makes, the Earl Troop's leader. If Higelac is the Earl, then Beowulf would be the troop leader. But the Earl Troop's leader was not inclined to allow his caller to depart alive. A little funny there, they call Grendel a caller, as just somebody who's there to say hi. He did not consider that life of much account to anyone anywhere. Time and again, Beowulf's warriors worked to defend their life. Time and again, Beowulf's warriors worked to defend their lord's life, laying about them as best they could with their ancestral blades. Stalwart in action, they kept striking out on every side, seeking to cut straight to the soul. When they joined the struggle, there was something they could not have known at the time, that no blade on earth, no blacksmith's art, could ever damage their demon opponent. Which is interesting. Then Beowulf's boast that he's going to fight him unarmed is kind of just serendipitous, because it wouldn't have mattered anyway. So he had conjured the harm from the cutting edge of every weapon. Who's he? Grendel? When they joined the struggle, there was something they could not have known at the time. That no blade on earth, no blacksmith's art could ever damage their demon opponent. He had conjured the harm from the cutting edge of every weapon. Is there a different definition of conjured? Yeah, to call upon. Band together. Band together by oath. Huh? I don't think I fully understand the use of this term. He had conjured the harm from the cutting edge of every weapon, but his going away out of this world and the days of his life would be agony to him, and his alien spirit would travel far into the fiend's keeping. The alien spirit would travel far into the fiend's keeping. Huh. Well, thank goodness nobody's actually going to listen to this. So I don't look terribly stupid. Oh, my video ran out. To make, conjured up the most delicious one through, call an image to mind. He had conjured the harm from the cutting edge of every weapon. He had called up the harm. He had invoked it, but his going away out of this world and the last of his life would be agony to him, and his alien spirit would travel far into the fiend's keeping. Fiend, do they mean devil? I'm taking too long on this one. Then he who had harrowed the hearts of men with pain and affliction in former times, and had given offense also to God, found that his bodily powers had failed him. Heglac's kinsman kept him helplessly locked in a hand grip. As long as either lived, he was hateful to the other. The monster's whole body was in pain. A tremendous wound appeared on his shoulder. Sinews split and the bone lappings burst. Oh, bone lappings are tendons. Sinews split and the bone lappings burst. Beowulf was granted the glory of winning. Grendel was driven under the fen banks, fatally hurt, to his desolate lair. His days were numbered. The end of his life was coming over him. He knew it for certain, and one bloody clash had fulfilled the dearest wishes of the Danes. The man who had lately landed among them, proud and sure, had purged the hall, kept it from harm. He was happy with the fate they'd been forced to undergo. No small affliction. Clear proof of this. Clear proof of this could be seen in the hand the hero displayed high up near the roof. Man. It's 11 o'clock. I might be falling apart a little bit. Clear proof of this could be seen in the hand the hero displayed high up near the roof. The whole of Grendel's shoulder and arm, his awesome grasp. Morning came, and many a warrior gathered, as I've heard, around the gift hall, clan chiefs flocking from far and near, down wide-ranging roads, Wondering greatly at the monster's footprint, his fatal departure was regretted by no one who witnessed his trail, the ignominious marks of his flight. Oh, I'm going to tea. The ignominious marks of his flight, where he'd skulked away, exhausted in spirit and beaten in battle, bloodying the path, hauling his doom to the demon's mare. Mere? Mare. Mere? Mere. 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 M-E-R-E. Oh, there you go. A lake or a pond. Or an arm of the sea. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's, I think they end up, he lives in basically a swamp. It's a swamp monster. Where'd we go here? The way you his fatal departure was regretted by no one who witnessed his trail, the ignominious marks of his flight where he'd skulked away, exhausted in spirit and beaten in battle, bloodying the path, hauling his doom to the demon's mere. The bloodshot water wallowed and surged, where lonesome. Nope. And we're back. Where was it? The bloodshot water wallowed and surged. There were loathsome upthrows and overturns. Yeah, nope, that's where I am. The bloodshot water wallowed and surged. There were loathsome upthrows and overturnings of waves and gore and wound slurry. Those are some descriptions. With his death upon him, he had dived deep into the marsh den, drowned out his life and his heathen soul. Hell claimed him there. God, that's a great little ending there. Skulked away into exhaustion ability to path, yeah. The bloodshot water wallowed and surged. There were loathsome upthrows and overturnings of waves and gore and wound slurry. Then away they rode, the old retainers, with many a young man following after, a troop on horseback, in high spirits, on their bay steeds. Bay is like a ruddy, tanny color. On their bay steeds, Beowulf's doings were praised over and over again. Nowhere, they said, north or south, between the two seas, or under the tall sky on the broad earth, was there anyone better to raise a shield or rule a kingdom. Yet there was no laying blame on their lord, the noble Hrothgar. He was a good king. At times the war band broke into a gallop, letting their chestnut horses race. Wherever they... Oh, man. We're going to break in the page there and practice that a bit. At times the war band broke into a gallop. At times the war band broke into a gallop, letting their chestnut horses race wherever they found the going good. Come on. At times the warband broke into a gallop, letting their chestnut horses race. Come on now. At times the warband broke into a gallop, letting their chestnut horses race wherever they found the going good. On those well-known... You got like a run-on sentence and a break in the middle of the page. Okay. At times the warband broke into a gallop, letting their chestnut horses race wherever they found the going good on those well-known tracks. Meanwhile, a thane of the king's household, a carrier of tales, a traditional singer, deeply schooled in the lore of the past, linked a new theme to a strict meter. The man started to recite with skill, rehearsing Beowulf's triumphs and feats in well-fashioned lines, entwining his words. Where was I going to stop with this one? I counted it out. Yeah, because it goes back talking about because it calls back to the Unferth who was talking shit. Damage Hall, and then Victory Feast. I was going to go to the Victory, just to the Victory Feast. And I think that's a good one, because that's going to encompass the fight, the defeat of Grendel, the aftermath, even the hall being repaired, and then that would mean part 4 would be running the Victory Feast. Then in due time arrive, Halfdan and son to proceed to the hall, and that one's a long one. And presenting the gifts, more gifts, more song. They have song, another poem in here. Hawk's daughter, how could she not lament her fate when morning came and the light broke on her murdered dears? And so farewell delight on earth. Yep, there's this song that goes on for, I think there's more than one. But yeah, so it's actually... more gifts. There's also another thing that happens in these old epic poems, where there is some sort of accounting chapter, and they tend to be a little repetitive and a little boring. When you get to the Iliad, there's one that is just naming off the fleet, the country, the number of ships that they had, the number of crew that were on the ships and their weapons, and the names of their commanders, and on for like 120. This actually happens in the Hebrew Bible, in the Book of Numbers, where it's just generation. It's a genealogical record. This person begat him, and he begat him, and lived so many years, and then died. And his son begat this, and had 4 daughters, and he lived so long, and he died. And it's over and over and over and over. So not this one, but the next one is very much like that, where they just give an accounting of all of the gifts that are handed out to the different individuals and what they were. So, and handed the cup first. Oh, I have completely lost my faith. Completely lost my place. Beowulf fight with Grendel. Grendel defeated. Beowulf fulfills his boast. Morning after. Skulked away here. Told him what is heard, repeating the sign, singing. Okay. Right. Okay, so yeah. Hrothgar's minstrel sings about Beowulf. Meanwhile, the carrier of tales, traditional singer, rehearsing Beowulf's triumphs and feats in well-fashioned lines, entwining his words. So yeah, we get our first diversion into a different Germanic tale of Sigmund. Sigmund the Dragon Slayer. Oh, I used to have a little hardcover book. It had to have been from probably like the turn of the century. But it had prints, like almost maybe not quite lithograph but from a silent film of Sigmund. It was the Nibelungenlied, and man, next time I go home, I don't know whatever happened to that. Actually, I think it was my grandmother's. She passed away the other year, but I don't know whatever happened to that. I have to look that one up and find what happened to that. Maybe that's one that I'll read on stream. If not, maybe I'll find a copy of it, because that's this is the story that is recounted here, I think, shortly. It's not the entire thing. Oh, good lord, it might be. So, Beowulf's triumphs. He told what he'd heard and repeated songs about Sigmund's exploits, all of those many feasts and marvels, the struggles and wanderings of God damn it. Wanderings, W-A-E-L-S. Wales. The struggling and wandering of Wales' son. Things unknown to anyone except to Fitela. Fitela? Who the hell is Fitela? Feuds and foul doings confided by uncle to nephew when he felt the urge to speak of them. They always had partners in the fight, friends in need. They killed giants. Their conquering swords had brought them down. After his death, and so this is the beginning of that story. After his death, Sigmund's glory grew and grew because of his courage when he killed the dragon, the guardian of... In the business, we call this foreshadowing. After his death, Sigmund's glory grew and grew because of his courage when he killed the dragon, the guardian of the horde. Under grey stone he had dared to enter all by himself to face the worst without Fitela. But it came to pass that his sword plunged right through those radiant scales and drove into the wall. The dragon died of it. His daring had given him total possession of... This might be particularly challenging. The spacing between these is odd, and I think I'm not really sure what the I mean, it's italicized, so that really should separate it from the main story, but these spacings when reading it out makes it very difficult. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but Sigmund's glory grew and grew because of his courage. I already did that. But it came to pass that his sword plunged right through those radiant scales and drove into the wall. The dragon died of it. His daring had given him total possession of the treasure hoard. His daring had given him total possession of the treasure hoard, his to dispose of however he liked. He loaded a boat, Whaleson's boat. Wales, Wales apostrophe S son. How the hell am I supposed to pronounce it? Wales son. I'm not even going to try that. I'm just going to call it Whaleson. Let's try that again. The dragon died of it. His daring had given him total possession of the treasure hoard, his to dispose of however he liked. He loaded a boat. Whaleson's waited her hold. Wales's son waited. Wichted. Wales's son wichted her hold with dazzling spoils. Wales's son waited her hold with dazzling spoils. The hot dragon melted. Sigmund's name was known everywhere. He was utterly valiant and venturesome. A fence around his fighters and a fence. Come on, we're doing the alliteration. A fence round his fighters and flourished therefore after King Hermund's prowess declined and his campaign slowed down. The king was betrayed, ambushed in Jutland, overpowered and done away with. The waves of his grief had beaten him down, made him a burden, a source of anxiety to his own nobles. That expedition was often condemned in those earlier times by experienced men who relied on his lordship for redress, who presumed that the part of a prince was to thrive on his father's throne and defend the nation, the shielding land where they lived and belonged, its holdings and stronghold. Such was Beowulf in the affliction of his friends and everyone alive, but evil turned into Hermod. But evil entered into Hermod. Okay. So yeah, so the bard is reciting a tale of Sigmund and King Hermod and contrasting it with Beowulf. Meanwhile, the Danes kept racing their mounts down the sandy lanes. The light of day broke and kept brightening. Bands of retainers galloped in excitement at the gabled hall to see the marvel. The king himself, guardian of the ring hoard, goodness in person. Goodness in person. I don't know. That one tickled me. I like that one. Guardian of the ring hoard, goodness in person, walked in majesty from the women's quarters with a numerous train attached by his queen and her crowd of maidens across the mead hall. When Hrothgar arrived at the hall, he spoke, standing on the steps under the steep eaves, gazing at the roofwork and Grendel's talon. First and foremost, let the Almighty Father be thanked for this sight. I suffered a long harrowing by Grendel, but the heavenly shepherd can work his wonders always and everywhere. Not long since it seemed Oh, I got lost again. Standing the steps under the first and foremost, y'all in front of things sight along here everywhere. Not long since it seemed I would never be granted the slightest solace or relief from any of my burdens. The best of houses glittered and reeked and ran with blood. This one worry outweighed all others, a constant distress to counselors entrusted with defending the people's forts from assault by monsters and demons. But now a man, with the Lord's assistance, had accomplished something none of us could manage before now for all our efforts. Whoever she was who brought forth this flower of manhood, if she is still alive, that woman can say that in her labor the Lord of Ages bestowed a grace on her. So now Beowulf, it's interesting. They don't even mention. They mention his. No. They did mention it. No, they didn't give a name to his mother. It was. Yeah, it's Ectheo's son, and his mother was the daughter of. Basically, say who his maternal grandfather is. Just say, it was his daughter who married Ectheo and birthed Beowulf. They don't give a name to her. Interesting. Blah blah blah, something sexist and blah blah blah. So now, man, Lord's assistance has accomplished something none of us could manage before now. Lord of Ages, so now Beowulf. So now, Beowulf, I adopt you in my heart as a dear son. Nourish and maintain this new connection, you noblest of men. There'll be nothing. There'll be nothing. There will be nothing. I'm just going to say there will. There will be nothing. There will be nothing you'll want for is awkward to say. There will be nothing you will want for. No worldly goods that won't be yours. There will be nothing you'll want for, no worldly goods that won't be yours. I have often honored smaller achievements, recognized warriors not nearly as worthy, lavished rewards on the less deserving. But you have made yourself immortal by your glorious action. May the God of Ages continue to keep and require you well. Requite. May the God of Ages continue to keep and requite you well. I don't know what that means. Requite. Make an appropriate return the favor. Oh, this is probably the better one. Respond to love or affection. Oh yeah. I've heard it in the context the unrequited love. Beowulf, so may the God of Ages continue to keep and requite you well. Beowulf, son of Ectheo, spoke. We have gone through with a glorious endeavor and been much favored in this fight we dared against the unknown. Nevertheless, if you have seen the monster himself where he lay beaten, I would have been better pleased. We've gone through the glorious endeavor and been much favored in this fight we dared against the unknown. Nevertheless, if you could have seen the monster himself where he lay beaten, I would have been better pleased. So so Grendel got his arm torn off and then ran away. So I couldn't see him die. They wish I would have. My plan was to pounce, pin him down in a tight grip, and grapple him to death. Have him panting for life, powerless and clasped in my bare hands, his body in thrall. But I couldn't stop him from slipping my hold. The Lord allowed it. My lock on him wasn't strong enough. He struggled fiercely and broke and ran. Yet he bought his freedom at a high price, for he left his hand and arm and shoulder to show he had been here. A cold comfort for having come among us, and now he won't be long for this world. He has done his worst, but the wound will end him. He is hasped and hooped, and oh man, I have to look up all those. Hasped. The cold comfort of HASP ED. Lock of the window, yeah. A lock, door, window, or lid. To lock a door, window, or lid by securing hasp over a loop of the fastening. Cold comfort. Oh, so hasped, as in he's locked down. Okay. And hooped. I'm imagining it is, yeah, binder encircled with, yup. And herpling. HIRPLING. Wait, is that right? HIRPL. Herpling. Oh, okay. So this is another Scottish derived word. To walk with a limp or a hobble, slow, painful, or uneven way of walking. So he is hasped and hooped and herpling with pain. So the pain is yeah. So he is bound. He is clamped down and limping with pain. So he has done his worst, but the wound will end him. He is hasped and hooped and herpling with pain, limping and loped in it. Like a man outlawed for wickedness, he must await the mighty judgment of God and his mercy. My holy hand grenade, may they blow them to bits in thy mercy. God, I must sound like a schizo on these. There was less tampering and big talk then from here's the Unferth. There was less tampering and big talk then from Unferth, the boaster. There was less tampering and big talk then from Unferth, the boaster. Less of his blather and the hall thane, less of his blather as the hall thanes. Less of his blather as the hall thanes eyed the awful proof of the hero's prowess, and splayed hand, the splayed hand. Pull it together. There was less tampering and big talk then from Unferth the boaster, less of his blathering as the hall thanes eyed the awful proof of the hero's prowess. The splayed hand up under the eaves, every nail, claw, scale, and spur, every spike and welt on the hand of that heathen brute was like barbed steel. Everybody said there was no honed iron hard enough to pierce him through, no time-proofed blade that could cut his brutal blood-caked claw. Then the order was given for all hands to help to refurbish Heorot immediately. Men and women thronging the wine hall, getting it ready. Gold thread shone in the wall hangings, woven scenes that attracted and held the eye's attention. But iron braced as the inside of it had been, the bright room lay in ruins now. The very doors had been dragged from their hinges, only the roof remained unscathed. By the time the gilt-fouled fiend turned tail in despair of his life, only the roof okay. Only the roof remained unscathed by the time the guilt-fouled fiend turned tail in despair of his life. But death is not easily escaped from by anyone. All of us with souls, earth dwellers, and children of men, must make our way to a destination already ordained, where the body, after the banqueting, sleeps on its deathbed. And that's where I'm going to end the reading, both here and for the video. I think that's going to make a really good one. Memento Mori, everybody. Memento Mori. Remember thou art mortal. Keep a lookout for this next one coming up. I'm going to practice read a little bit more. I got to capture the next gameplay. And it's I think it's going to be a little bit shorter. It's probably going to be under 20 minutes for this one. But then the next one, I think it's going to be considerably longer. I haven't gotten through it yet, but part 4, like I said, is going to be that accounting measure. And so, but it's interesting. We've got a lot of we've got some foreshadowing. We've got some callbacks. We've got the big, exciting battle with Grendel. Not the last. It is the most famous. Everybody talks about the battle with Grendel. But wait, there's more. And then, of course, even after that, I think we're going to have another short out here. I think I'm going to have just a standalone short, one that's not just the kind of intro hook to these once I finish this. And I'm going to lean into the connection between Beowulf and Tolkien, because Beowulf really did was a massive, was like the primary inspiration for The Hobbit. And I think I don't know if a lot of people know that, but hopefully that'll be something that'll kind of hook in the algorithm and get people, to listen. Anyway, I think that's going to be it for tonight. Keep doing stuff.